Hey everybody, my name is Dr. Kaylin Anderson and welcome back to my channel where we talk about all things real estate investing. I wanted to talk today about the BRRRR method. So BRRRR, BRRRR. This is something that's very exciting in real estate. It's definitely an option that you can test out if you're looking at different properties and figuring out which way you want to go with a property. One of the big things that we talk about when we're looking at a property is knowing, once you look at that property, knowing exactly what you're going to do with it before you're making those decisions to buy. So every property has a purpose. You have to look at it and be like, which way we're going to go, and then you plan everything around which way you're going to end up with that property. Meaning, is it a flip? Is this something that's a good single family home or a multifamily home that you can get it very much under market because it needs a lot of work. You can get that work secured and then go back in and get that flipped and make that profit? Is it something that you want to buy and hold for a long time and rent it out? Or is it a BRRRR? So BRRRR means buy, renovate, rent it, and then refi. So BRRRR is a great option for those who want to get into real estate investing for the long term, meaning you are not just the person who has some extra funds laying around who just wants one extra home that you can get some cash flow off of, or one home, like one vacation home or something like that. No, BRRRR is if you are in this, you plan to do real estate, you want to keep building on real estate, and you want to find a way to get that money back out of the property significantly quickly after you put it in. So that's what BRRRR does. So you can buy a property that you feel is below under market value, okay, get it for a good price. Then you're going to get that property renovated. You're going to do everything that needs to be done, all the big things. Does it need a roof? Does it need windows? Does it need new doors? Does it need new flooring? What does the plumbing and the electric look like? Do any of those things need updated, okay? What does your outside look like? Curb appeal, okay? Do shrubs need to be cut back? Does the driveway need to be fixed? Landscaping, any of that stuff. All the big stuff that when someone shows up to that property, wow, there's a big difference here. Okay, things have been done and done correctly. So you buy that property, you renovate that property. Now, for the sake of investing, if you don't want to get hit with capital gains in your under 1 year mark, meaning an extra tax that's imposed on the profits that you make, you're going to want to hold that property for a year and a day. Very important. So how do we do that? If you flip that property in 5 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 15 weeks, well, now the clock's still ticking to get to that year mark. So now what? Now we rent it. We show that it can bring in a really good profit per month and that it is worth a certain amount of money. So you're going to get a good renter in there. This is going to take a little bit of time. You need to vet your tenants. You need to ask a bunch of questions. You need to do background checks. You need to do credit checks. Where do they work? Hold a job? All of those things. You want to get the right tenant, okay? You want to get a right tenant because once you get a right tenant in there who's going to take care of that property, you are going to get that return each month, and we're going to hit our year and a day mark. Once we get that rented out, so we bought the property, we fix up the property, we're renting the property, now we're going to refi. So here's a couple things you can do. When you buy that property, you either bought it with cash outright if you had that available. You either did some sort of a seller finance, which we've talked about in other videos. Check out our channel if this is the first video that you're watching. Seller finance, where the previous owner had equity in the property. They offered you a certain amount of an interest rate or an interest only for so many months while you get this property revamped. You found another hard money lender source, something like that, okay? So you got that property bought. Well, now we're going to go back and we're going to refi because we did a ton of work to it. We know it's going to appraise higher than when we bought it. So now that you've done all these things, house is purchased, it's redone right, it's renting and cash flowing. Now we're going to go and refi. We're going to have somebody come in. We're going to get an appraisal done. In my local area, a full appraisal is about $470. Okay, an appraisal that the bank will approve. They'll go in, they'll appraise, they'll do your fees, obviously, for what they need for the bank to open that line, and then they'll get you a mortgage out on it. Here's the deal. If you plan to keep the property and keep renting it, you might not want to take the max. Okay, there's a couple reasons for this. So say, obviously, if you're working with a local bank, it's going to be whatever those interest rates are, right? You're not going to have that lower interest rate like you had with potentially that hard money lender or that seller financing. But you want to work with the bank now because you want that mortgage, because now that's going to allow you to pull all of your original funding back out. For instance, if you bought that house cash outright, and you want to pull money out to go to the next project more than you put in, you want that bank, okay? But that bank is now going to come with an interest rate that you didn't have when you bought it outright with cash, okay? So what we need to do is we need to make sure that the juice is worth the squeeze. We need to know what we're able to rent it for. If we're planning on keeping the property and we want to keep those tenants there, we just want to pull our money back out, we need kind of a happy medium. So for example, say that you did have the money up front and you did purchase the house for $50,000, okay? So you had more money up front, or you had a small loan that was like an 8 to 10% personal loan or whatever you did, okay? Again, not all loans are that interest rate. Not everybody has $50,000 in cash. There's plenty of ways to do it, and this is why I said I was going to focus on just this method, because even just in this method, there's like 7 different ways I could tell you to get the money to do the loan or to do it yourself, or, you know, who you're working with and what that looks like. Because every time you're working with somebody different, that interest rate and those terms look different, okay? So this is just an overview, because I could go down the rabbit hole on every single one of these pieces. So that's for another day. So we have to look at, okay, in this instance, we want to pull our money out to go to another project, but we want to keep the property. Okay, cool. So we bought it for $50,000. We renovated it for $25,000. These numbers are very low in my area. It's very hard to do that. But it does happen. So we bought it for 50, we renovated for 25, so there's 75. It is a single family home and it's a 3-bedroom. Again, this doesn't always happen, but I'm just explaining this to you. It's renting for $14.50 a month. Woohoo! Okay, awesome. So we bought it for 50, we put in 25, it's renting for $14.50 a month. They're going to go in and appraise. They're going to appraise it at $189,000. The bank, a local bank, will usually give you up to 80%. Again, other lenders, other people, they might give you 85 to 90. Seek out who you can, okay? Find those relationships. That's important. That's another video for another day. It appraises for $189 now. Awesome. What that means is that if you take the $189 and you have to, I should have done an easier rounded number, okay? You're going to get 80% of that. You always have to have 20%. The bank can't have 100% stake in your property, okay? You need 20%. So let's make it an even, say it appraises for 200, okay? Say it appraises for 200. You have to keep 20% in. So 2 and 20 is 40. So they can give you $160,000. So they can give you a mortgage on this property for $160,000. Solid. But it's at a 7.75% interest rate over 20 years, okay? You have to work that number out to make sure that that $1,450 is now covering that $140,000 mortgage at 7.75, okay? 7 3/4. You also have to keep in mind of the market fluctuation. So with local banks that I'm using, depending on where we're at in this cycle, you'd either get a 3-year or a 5-year ARM, meaning that at 7.75, it might be 3 years, and then the rates will fluctuate to whatever prime is plus 3/4 of a point. Okay, again, different depending on your situation. So you need to look and say, hey, yeah, they're gonna give me 140, and I can go make more moves with that. But at 140, at 7 3/4 interest rate, is the $1,450 a month covering that mortgage payment plus the insurance plus the taxes and any utilities that they're not paying? You need to figure that out, okay? So what I'm saying is 140 might sound like a field day, because now you're getting your 75 back and you're almost doubling your profit. And if it only took you 10 weeks, well, here you go. Woohoo, awesome. But there are caveats to that. 1, the 140 needs to be able to, you need to be able to cover it with what your rent is. 2, now you have all this money. That's fun. Great. It's debt. So you're not going to pay any like tax on that debt. However, it's only as good as your next property. So what I'm saying is this BRRRR method, this is for people who are going all in. Okay. Because what you realize in the game of real estate, it's a wheel. That's where I was going with that. It's a wheel. You are chasing that wheel. You are in the wheel and you are running. Okay. So BRRRR is great. If you were like, I think I can do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going all in and I'm not going to stop, awesome. Because now you're going to have all these funds. Well, you're not going to go spend it, right? No, you're not going to go spend it on junk or whatever. No. Like, you need to find another good deal to be able to do this again, to wash, rinse, repeat, okay? Sometimes seeking out deals is a little bit harder. Sometimes you have to talk to more people. Sometimes the stuff that's on the market is just not cutting it. 98% of the stuff we buy is not on the market. Other people want it. You're fighting over it. They're driving up pricing. It's just not realistic for people who are in this business to redo these homes, to make these homes right, to get a quality starter home for somebody and get it to them at a price point that they're not going to see on the market. So in order for us to make up that difference, and I tell everybody, like, everybody's got to eat. Make a little bit of money. Contractors make a little bit of money. Real estate agent makes a little bit of money if we need that, if we get to that point. The person buying it gets a good quality price point for a good quality home. When we do homes, anything that we put our name on, would we move our family into that home? I will not cut any corner on a home that would enable me to not put my kids into that house. We do everything by a certain standard because it always comes back. It always comes full circle. You're going to know the people that want to buy the house. You want to do right by those people and their family. You don't want things to go wrong 6 months after they buy it. So, or are renting it. You want things to be nice and clean and tidy and new for them. So, and that's just us. Everybody might have a different opinion. Okay. People who probably have 120 units or 500 units or whatever, they're at a different scale than me. But this is just where we're at in our journey and what we've seen so far and what's worked for us. So again, just our thing. So kind of putting this all back together. BRRRR method, you buy, you renovate, you rent, and then you refi. The great thing about a BRRRR method is if you are on a path of we are doing real estate, we are kind of fixing up houses and we want to hold them in our portfolio, this is a great method because you put in this money, whether you get it from a hard money lender, a seller finance, or you have it yourself, you put in that money, you get the work done, you get it rented, then you pull a mortgage on it and you get all that money back and then some. If you've done it right, if your numbers pencil out, if you did the homework up front. The initial buy is the most important thing. Every time we look at a home, I say it has to pencil. It's a number one, okay? If it's not penciling, we can't do it. As much as I like it, as much as I want to be selfish and I want to get another deal and I want to buy another house, if it doesn't pencil, it ruins the whole sequence that comes after it. It's just that simple. It has to pencil, it has to sit right, or it's not worth doing it. There will always be another deal. There will always be another opportunity around the corner. As long as you have that mindset and you're willing to go look and search and dig and work for it, it will always come around. So there's all of that. The last thing that I dug into before about take that, they would give you that mortgage for up to $140 if it was a $200,000. I'm sorry, $160. What am I doing with my math? Okay, someone's probably sitting behind that thing saying, she can't do math. How is she buying houses? I can do math. So if it was a $200,000 home, you have to have 20% equity in the property. 20 and 2 is 40. They would take 40 off the top. So if it's a $200,000 home, they'd give you up to $160,000 mortgage. Sorry. So that's how that works, okay? If you're working with a lender that will lend up to 80%. So up to 160. What you might need to do is you say, okay, well, realistically, I need my 75 back, but I don't want 160 because 160 at 7.75% plus my insurance plus my taxes for this property specifically, 1450 is not going to cut it. I'm going to be upside down. So then you go and you look at your numbers and you figure out what you actually need in that property to keep it and to maintain it. So you figure out that number and then you can tell them, hey, I only want 120 or I only want 130 instead of 160. And they will gladly do that all day long. And then you'll have more equity in that property. And that's how you do it. You wash, rinse, repeat, and you just keep going. But that is a great method to kind of exponentially grow your real estate investing business, whether you're keeping it or whether you're selling it. You can do this with selling as well. You can literally get this all done, do all the steps. Your buy, your renovate, your rent, your refi, pull all that out, and then you can go put it on the market and see what you get on the market with it. Because now it's fully rented, it's fully redone. Someone might find that very appealing. They might either want to keep the tenant or they might want to move it into themselves. But now you already cut out all of that, like wondering and how long it might be on the market because you already have your money back. You're already on to the next thing. So again, knowing what you're doing with that property when you look to pencil it. That's like that first step, knowing what you do with it, having that plan in place, not deviating and just moving forward. Then you'll know exactly where you're going for your next. You have to you got to know where you're going 10 steps ahead. You don't have to do it all in a day. You don't even have to do it all in a month. But you have to have that plan because then if something goes a little wonky, you at least still have that plan and you're like, okay, as long as we can get to where we need to go here, we can kind of pivot on a few of these things. It's not the end of the world. And that's super important in this game because there's so many variables. If you are not doing a bulk of the construction yourself, you're going to be dealing with project management, construction management. Are these guys coming in and out? Are they getting the job done? Are they doing it on time? Are they on budget? Something go wrong? Was something unaccounted for? Were the taxes a little bit off that you weren't anticipating? Insurance is off or something, you know? Are there issues with parking? Did you take on something that you thought you could put parking, but there's easements or things that you have to worry about or permits that you need to get? So really do your homework on the property. Really make sure that for what you think you're going to do with it, that you can do that with it. That's important. And then follow those steps. However you get there is up to you, whether you buy the stuff outright, hard money lender, seller finance, with a bank. However you do that's up to you. But then you go through that whole method and then you pull your money back out and you can move on to the next one. And that's the BRRRR method. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments. I love answering them. They help me create content for other videos here on our channel. And I'm excited to share more with you all. Thanks. Have a good day.